Hi everyone, I am so late and so discombobulated. I still haven't I still haven't uh, promoted the show to a lot of places. So I'm gonna wait for you all to join me and we're gonna talk about the Epstein files. What a freaking ridiculous day. Um, the Democrats are just so desperate. And, they think the American people are stupid. And maybe we are. I don't know. I mean, they have to have a reason that they think we're stupid. Oh, thanks, Lucille. It's dirty. Um, when I was up in New York, I had it blown out and I decided I wasn't going to watch it. I don't watch it as much anymore now that it's long, um, mainly because I wanted to try and get healthier. Anyway, so it's dirty. I should have watched it today, but it was too damn cold. So I just put it up. See, it's pretty deal. See? Um, so at any rate, yeah, it's getting really long. I've decided I'm going to, oh, no, I messed up. I've decided that I'm going to be an eccentric old woman and, grow my hair to my feet and, see what happens with that. But anyway, thanks, Lucille. How are you, Francine? How are you? Good to see you. Hello, Colleen. How are you? Um, you know, today has been a day that I just don't know what the Democrats are thinking. I mean, releasing those three emails that didn't have a lot of context, but for those of us who know what Trump has said about the Epstein files or about Epstein, we can kind of put it in context, and we're gonna look at that in a minute. But I think they did more damage to themselves and to what we know to be true about the media, because two of those files is Epstein speaking with Newsday's Michael Wolff, who wrote a couple of books about Trump. And Wolff is kind of helping Epstein frame things to extort Trump. Um, because that's what Epstein was trying to do the whole time, was extort Trump, and Trump wouldn't bite. So yeah, really interesting stuff. Oh, thank you. Well, it's kind of like how I used to wear it, right? When I cut it short. This is the beauty of having long hair. You can wear it up, you could wear it down, you could do some things with it. So that's why I like having long hair. But thank you, Angela. Uh, yeah, it is. It's kind of like a bob, right? Yeah. So that's it. So yeah, I mean, how does it happen that the media, and I'm going to share my screen now. Let's look at who Michael Wolff is. Hold on a second. Let me get my act together. Let's see my share screen act together. And this is what I want to share. All right, so let's take a look at Michael Wolff. So he's 72 years old. Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House was published, containing unflattering descriptions of behavior by U.S. President Donald Trump, chaotic interactions among the White House senior staff, and derogatory comments about the Trump family by former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon. The book quickly became a New York Times #1 bestseller and was the first of 4 books about Trump in power, the others being Siege, Landslide, and All or Nothing, which came out this year. So you say to yourself, why is this woman talking about Michael Wolff? Well, let's just see. Hi, Tony Whitaker. Let's just see, where is it? Here. Okay. So let's look at this. This is the email between Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein. It was December 15, 2015. Michael Wolff, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. And now Epstein replies, if we were able to craft an answer for him, What do you think it should be? So he's asking this of a reporter for Newsday and somebody who's writing books about Trump. And Wolf says, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. Okay, so this is the media, a guy who's been writing books about Trump, negative books about Trump, talking to Epstein about Trump. Now, I'm going to tell you why. I mean, I hope you read it as I did. Didn't it look like they were trying to extort something from Trump? Sounded that way to me. Let's see what I have missed here. Oh, I missed quite a few people. Jesus, are you Hitler's wife? Honey, no. Hitler's wife is dead, and so is Hitler. And you should just stop throwing that name around, because that name could get you into a lot of trouble. Good evening and good hairstyle. Thank you. Nope, not his mother either. I didn't realize the front was that short. I guess it's your old bangs. Yes, it is. Good evening, Tony Whitaker. How are you? Good evening, Kevin Young. How are you? How are you, Professor? Good to have you. Joe, keep in mind that Wolf was very sketchy sources. Yeah, well, very interesting, very unethical for a journalist to be crafting this for Epstein. I'd say so. Even Morning Joe kicked Wolf off air for his dubious claims from his first book. Yeah, but so you see how already, the Democrats releasing these emails, not so smart. Okay, so let's see here. Let's look at the first. This is email 1. It is between Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. And he writes, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. And then it says victim, but it is Virginia Giuffre that they're speaking about. Virginia Giuffre spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. So that's interesting. So Virginia Giuffre spent hours with Trump and in supposedly Epstein's house. And her commentary, and I have that here. Hold on a second. We are going to share screen again. And I'm going to tell you what she said under oath. All right. Let's see. Let me see. Oh, okay. Let's see, we're going to stop sharing that, and we're going to share, let's see what we're going to share. No, wrong. Hold on. Give me a second. Here it is. Okay. And this is what this says. Answer, I would say the first time they came to that property, there is nude pictures everywhere. These are salacious acts of girls, young girls, doing things to each other that would be considered child pornography. If you walked foot into Jeffrey Epstein's house and you went in there and you continued to be an acquaintance of his, then you would have to know what was going on there. Question, so Donald Trump was in your mind? You believe a witness to the sexual abuse of minors? And she said, somebody said, Macaulay said, let her finish. Objection. That mischaracterizes testimony. Giuffre said, thank you, Special Master. You can answer. Macaulay says you can answer. And then she says, Giuffre, I don't think Donald Trump participated in anything. That would have to be another assumption. I never saw or witnessed Donald Trump participate in those acts. But was he in the house of Jeffrey Epstein? I've heard he has been, but I haven't seen him myself, so I don't know. So I don't know. I mean, now this is her testimony, saying that she doesn't know if he's been in the house, and she later said that Donald Trump was nothing but professional and kind to her. So first of all, why are they redacting her name? Because she's deceased, in case you don't know. She took her own life, supposedly. I still don't know about that. I don't like that Epstein took his life and she took her life. Um, but she has been on record saying that she doesn't think that Donald Trump participated in any way in this, child molestation ring. The whole idea was to make something out of nothing. That's called business dollars. You're right. You're right. And I think the Epstein thing, hello, Susan. I think that it was clear that Epstein was trying to extort Donald because he said the dog didn't bark. So what does the dog didn't bark mean? The dog didn't bark means that you expect the dog to do something, right? Or to act a certain way when you give it certain conditions, and then it doesn't. And that's what. And Epstein then went on to talk about the police chief, who we know he tried to extort, and he later probably did extort him, because even though Epstein was arrested and charged with soliciting a minor, and it was right after, I mean, literally right after he and Trump had a falling out. And the young woman's mother actually brought the charges. And some say that Trump helped her to bring the charges, but Epstein only got a slap on the wrist. So the police chief was playing along, but Donald Trump was not. Let's see. Secret Service was present on the plane with POTUS. Clinton, does that make the Secret Service accomplices? If so, why? That's a good point. I mean, we do know that Clinton spent a lot of time as president with Jeffrey Epstein. And we do also know that Clinton had an affair with a 21-year-old intern, or a 22-year-old, for 2 years in the White House, Monica Lewinsky. Why would her name be redacted if she came forward publicly? Are we sure it's not another victim's name? Yes. They redacted her name because they wanted to make it as if it was somebody else, because Giuffre is actually on record saying that Donald Trump did not do anything wrong. So you see, it's the Democrats bait and switch bullshit, and also trying to pretend that there's more in these files than there actually is, and that somehow Trump was hiding it. This is stuff we all knew. We knew about Virginia Giuffre. We knew about that Trump had a friendship with Epstein, or an acquaintance anyway, for some years, and then they fell out. And that's what this other email is about. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. So this one is to Ghislaine Maxwell as well. Let's see how this said. It said he asked me to resign. Oh, okay. So that would be Giuffre, Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop. So he's talking to Michael Wolff, and he's talking about the girls that he pilfered from Mar-a-Lago. Okay, and Giuffre apparently had something to do with it. Not sure exactly what, but Trump has said it himself that the Epstein was taking girls or people working at Mar-a-Lago and hiring them over to his house, and he asked him to stop pilfering his staff, and Epstein didn't stop. So he's saying that he was never a member of Mar-a-Lago, but Trump says he was, and showed the records that he was, and that Trump kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and also kicked him out of all the casinos. So that's those are the girls that we're talking about. The girls, he's saying that Trump knew that the girls were moonlighting at his place. I don't think so. I can't imagine. Trump is a loyal, he prides himself on loyalty to people, and he wants people to be loyal to him. I can't imagine that he would want any of his people in Mar-a-Lago, bus girls or waitresses or bartenders or anybody, working for Epstein or working for anybody else, because then he, it's his brand, and he's very protective of his brand. Something definitely happened on the plane because the Secret Service agent quit when the plane landed. I'm sure plenty happened with Clinton on the plane. I'm sure plenty happened. Only because it's Clinton's MO, right? But there's, there were a lot of people. It seems like Epstein likes to extort people. And I've met people like that in government, when I was in government, people who tried to put me in compromising positions, but I wouldn't allow myself to be put into those compromising positions. But whether they would buy you too many drinks and then try and ply information out of you, or create a situation around you where you needed to leave because things were not right. Something was wrong. I knew something was wrong, so I left. That happens all the time. It happens all the time in government. And that's why you have to be careful where you drink. You have to be careful what you speak, because you don't know who's around you. You don't know who's recording you. And that was something that, we always do as political operatives, as people who work on campaigns. We be very careful to protect the brand of the person that we're working for. And, you don't have your own opinions and things like that. So Donald Trump clearly wanted to protect his brand and the people that worked for him. All the allegations against Trump is total fabrication. There is zero credibility, as they just love Billy Bob Clinton. Enough said about all the perversions they facilitated for votes. Yeah, and it's interesting because that Swalwell. I was looking at Twitter today, and all the Democrats are saying the same exact thing. They're on their their messaging stump about the Epstein files. So, let's just look at a little bit how the news media couched this, okay, or how they played it. Because there's one thing I wanted to show you. This is the Democrats' way, okay? This was from the House, when they released the 3 emails. Today, Oversight Democrats and Ranking Member Robert Garcia released never-before-seen emails from the latest production from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, striking a blow against the White House's Epstein cover-up. In private correspondence with Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein wrote in 2011 that Donald Trump spent hours at my house with a victim of sex trafficking. Again, Virginia Giuffre, but they didn't use her name, referring to Trump as dog that hasn't barked. In a separate email with author Michael Wolff in 2019, Epstein stated explicitly that Donald Trump, quote, knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. In another email with Wolff in 2015, Epstein and Wolff discuss if they can craft an answer for Trump's upcoming CNN interview, with Wolff characterizing Epstein's leverage over Donald Trump, saying if he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. The Epstein estate released a total of 2,300 documents that the Oversight Committee is currently reviewing. By the way, those documents were all released today. The more Donald Trump tries to cover up the Epstein files, the more we uncover. These latest emails and correspondence raise glaring questions about what else the White House is hiding and the nature of the relationship between Epstein and the president, said Ranking Member Robert Garcia. The Department of Justice must fully release the Epstein files to the public immediately. The Oversight Committee will continue pursuing answers and will not stop until we get justice for the victims. Justice for the victims means that you make sure that if there's anybody that can be prosecuted for the sexual molestation of minors, that you allow the DOJ to build that case, right? Rather than just dump all the files. That's what I would think. If you want justice for the victims, then you would want the DOJ to get as much information as possible so those victims could sue for monetary compensation, right? I think that they'd like to see their attackers in jail, but that's just me. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. At the end of the day, what's the difference? Personally, I'd be very upset if it were true, but nothing has been done to any of them who were there. So it's just a lot of noise. Yeah, you're right about that. Chris Santoro, thanks for joining. Listen, this is a ploy because the Democrats would have done it. You know it's true. I mean, if they had a smoking gun, that would have been released to make sure that Trump never ran. It would have been so much easier than concocting all those fake charges, and having people leave the Justice Department to go work for Alvin Bragg to try and, nail Trump on some bullshit. They just can't leave Trump alone. No, they can't, because they know that he knows where the bodies are buried. This is a paper trail on the SS agent, and it's difficult to make that all disappear. It would be interesting if they choose to indict Clinton. I mean, I'm sure there's information. I think Trump is not only one to have young friends, girls at their place, for Trump is singled out due to high business and or political status. Epstein may or may not be guilty, but let the man rest. I think, well, we're pretty sure Epstein's guilty. But, the thing is that, Trump has never had a history of dating young girls. Trump, I think the youngest person that he dated was Melania, and I think there's 20 years between them. This is so bull crap. Where's the email where they to the girls said he did nothing? It was not an email. She actually testified to that, and she spoke about it in news interviews. And I mean, you can Google it, Virginia Giuffre, and you'll see it's all over the news. She said Donald Trump did nothing and was kind to her. So was there incriminating evidence on anyone in the files released? I've started to go through them. And so far I haven't seen anything yet. But that was from the Epstein estate. That doesn't mean that there's not, more stuff somewhere else. Did the Debs scrub the file or alter anything? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to guess that, they could manipulate, and they're probably kicking themselves in the ass that they didn't manipulate something for Donald Trump. If this was real, Biden would have made it public a long time ago. Agreed, Michael. Trump might have been horny back then, but he was a normal horny. Trump was the playboy, right? He was the billionaire playboy. It was known all over the place. He was always on page 6. When he settled down, there was a lot of heartbreak. When he and Ivana or Ivanka, I can't remember which one is which. When he and the first wife broke up, and then he wound up with Marla Maples. That was a whole thing. He likes models. He doesn't like children. He likes models. Okay. So let's see how the media is playing this. This is CBS this morning when this all started.
Breaking news about convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. House Democrats have released emails that appear to show President Trump knew more about Epstein's conduct than he's acknowledged. Trump has denied any knowledge of sex trafficking. Nancy Cortez is at the White House. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning. House Democrats have released 3 emails handed over by the Epstein estate that seem to indicate that President Trump knew that Epstein had young girls around him well before Epstein was convicted for child sex offenses. Now, the first email, for example, it's from 2011. It's between Epstein and his co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein says, quote, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump." A victim, whose name has been redacted, spent hours at my house with him, and he has never once been mentioned. There's another email from 2019 in which Epstein tells the author Michael Wolff, quote, "Of course Trump knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. It's not clear from that email exactly what Trump wanted Maxwell to stop doing. Epstein died by suicide in prison about 7 months after sending that email. And President Trump has said that he ended his friendship with Epstein long ago because Epstein kept hiring away young female employees from Mar-a-Lago. And now, it's no coincidence that House Democrats are releasing these emails today because Adelita Grijalva of Arizona is finally slated to be sworn in today, weeks after she won her special election. And that gives Democrats and some Republicans the final 218th signature that they need on a petition to force a vote to require the Justice Department to release the full Epstein files. And that could include thousands of pages related to Epstein, to Maxwell, and potentially some of their high-powered friends and clients. Nate?
So, I mean, right there, she answered her own question. I mean, Trump said that Epstein was poaching women, young girls from Mar-a-Lago. And since Ghislaine was the one who was out there kind of getting girls to come to work for Epstein, it would make sense that Trump said to Ghislaine, whoa, quit it. Quit coming over here and taking my employees. Professor rightly says, when you quit your post on POTUS assignment, that is serious. It is. The problem is nobody talks about it. And thank goodness you're talking about it here. We know that Fox watches this show. We know that other news stations watch this show. And I like to pretend that Donald Trump watches this show. So maybe some of the other news stations will actually start reporting it. There's too many involved. There's so many involved. I mean, that's so many. The thing is that, when you're rich, this has been the tale as old as time. Where there's a buzz, everybody wants to be by the person who's creating the buzz until they find out that the person creating the buzz is also a slimy creature. And then they all run the other way. So how did the Democrats get the emails? That's a little suspicious because they're part of the committee. So they're part of the committee and they can release, the minority party can release, they get briefed just like everybody else. I think that it was bad on their part to try and pretend that this was actually something, because there's nothing. And when nothing comes of it, then they look foolish now twice. They just didn't want to talk about the fact that they closed the government for 40 some days. That's what they were trying to avoid. The Trump billionaire Playboy image was pre-known, just like the Clinton situation. You're right. So what about the courts blocking getting the files? That was what Biden said. I don't know. I don't know what they blocked and what they didn't block. I just know that, 23,000 documents were released today, and that's what they had gotten from the estate. I think Trump knew about Epstein's proclivity toward young girls, but he didn't approve. He did say it. He said that he said it in an interview with somebody that, Epstein's a great guy, but he likes the women a little young for me. And remember at that time, 18, 19 years old. I mean, they weren't children, right? I mean, look, I was married at 17 and had a baby. Back in the day, back in the 80s, 19-year-olds were a whole different creature than they are today. The biggest problem is that we look at things through the prism of today, and you can't do that. But look, 18, 19 is young. I mean, Monica Lewinsky was young, but she was an adult. She was 22. I mean, I owned a house at 18 years old. A lot of people owned a home and had kids at 22. So I don't know. Let's see. We know they look foolish, but they'll just double down. They always double down. Our nation used to look at success to lead government. Today they look at entertainment and literally children for leadership. Pathetic. Yeah, well, ever since Bill Clinton was playing the saxophone and talked about his underwear on television, things changed in this nation. And that the presidency kind of, I don't know. The presidency is not revered as it was. Multiple courts, including a federal court in Florida and a federal court in New York, have blocked the public release of some Epstein grand jury files. That's something different than what was released today. These rulings were made after the U.S. Department of Justice requested the files be unsealed, and judges denied the request based on legal precedent that typically requires grand jury testimony to remain secret. Chris, that these files are not those. These are from the Epstein estate. So these are Jeffrey's emails and photographs and yearbook and some other things. So this is a whole different set of files. This is why people are like, just release everything. You can't just release everything. You have to go through it. You have to see what you can release, and you have to see what you need. Now, grand jury files are, I don't even remember if we've ever seen grand jury files released in any case, because grand juries, they're supposed to be kept as secret and anonymous. Okay, so listen to Caroline Levitt. I just love this woman. Listen to her response to the question again today in the press room.
Separate from why you believe the emails were made public, can you address their substance? Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her. And so I think it's a question worth asking the Democrat Party, and you should all go ask them after this briefing, of why they chose to redact that name of a victim who has already publicly made statements about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and is unfortunately no longer with us.
You know, Julie, our D.C. teams are still trying to comb through those 20,000 documents that House Republicans released right after the ones released by Democrats. Do we know their reasoning for this document dump?
It's a really good question, and I think if you look at their pointed statements after House Democrats released some of these documents, 3 of these emails, remember, they spent days combing over these documents with Jeffrey Epstein estate lawyers in New York over the summer. They've had pages, thousands of them, of those documents, independent of the DOJ files, and the committee had always said, including Republicans on that panel that lead the committee, that they will plan to release all of those documents in full once they've gone through them, once they make sure that victim names are protected. Like I mentioned, though, Republicans are saying the Democrats cherry-picked these documents. We asked Robert Garcia, who's the top Democrat on the panel, about just that. Take a listen to what he said.
I think it's interesting that House Republicans and the White House want to say, well, this is being cherry-picked. You know how they can answer every single question? Is by releasing every single document that they have in their possession right now that is under subpoena. It's time for justice for the survivors.
Now, like I mentioned, James Comer, who is the Republican chair of that committee, did say he will release all of these files. He did not make the same commitment with the DOJ files that they are subpoenaing from the administration, but we'll see what happens.
So, again, DOJ files different than these files. These files were the Epstein, came from the Epstein estate. So, yeah, Chris, I love her too. She does take no shit. So this is what's been going on today. What I gain out of all of this is that once again, the Democrats are, creating a scenario to sow chaos and to cause people to continue to hate Republicans, hate Donald Trump, and detract from government work. They closed the government for 40 days. They stopped food stamps. They stopped paychecks. They, destroyed air traffic. And they didn't want to talk about that today. They decided they wanted to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. All of a sudden, Obamacare doesn't matter. Jeffrey Epstein matters. So they dig up this crap and they, hide names and they give out 3 emails and they talk about stuff, but they don't talk about why a journalist is conspiring with Epstein to get Trump. They don't talk about that. And everything in those emails, I mean, Trump asked Ghislaine to stop. Yes, poaching people from Mar-a-Lago. That makes sense. I mean, it was in that commentary. I was never a member of Mar-a-Lago. He didn't throw me out or whatever it said. He knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. He knew about the girls being poached. So, I mean, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure it out, but that's not the conclusion they jump to. The conclusion they jump to and want us to jump to is that Trump knew about the girls being sex trafficked, young girl. That's what they want us to believe. But that's not the case. What Trump knew, or what Jeffrey said Trump knew, had to do with the girls working at Mar-a-Lago that he was poaching. And that was one of the reasons that there was a falling out. We know Trump is president, and some of us know him as a businessman. And, Trump's deep friendships are, when he has a deep friendship, a lot of them are just business dealings. And like I said, Jeffrey Epstein, you can see how slimy he is. He's one of those guys that would get stuff on people and then screw you over and extort you. And those emails showed it. Thank you very much, Gloria. Thank you. And if he knew, what should he have done? Trump? Well, I mean, it's been said that he did not like what was happening, and that he did help the mother of the girl who pressed charges against Epstein. But Epstein wound up with a smack on the wrist. He did, he was soliciting a minor was the charge that he was found guilty of, and he paid a fine and he was let go. So, but we saw in there the police chief, he was already extorting, working with the police chief. So what should Trump have done as a normal human being? I guess turn him in, but you don't know who knows who, right? He was a rich and powerful guy. You don't know. Did he have that police chief on the payroll? You don't know. I thought Trump threw him out because he hit on a 15-year-old at Mar-a-Lago and was creepy in general. Trump has said that Epstein was hiring away girls from Mar-a-Lago, okay, and bringing them to work over at his place. And that's what he said. That's what Trump said. And that makes sense. Could there be more of it? Could he have hit on somebody? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know I guess a 15-year-old would be a bus girl. I don't know. But I don't want to guess. Let the man speak for himself. He's spoken about it a million times. We could all hear it. We could all figure it out. What about Epstein's CIA connections? Were they exporting high-powered people? I don't know. I mean, listen, the Q stuff, I'm not sure, but there's always a little, truth. They could have been. Who knows? Who knows what CIA connections? If Bill Clinton was a buddy of Epstein, is it conceivable that Epstein could have used his ties to Clinton to do something to other people? Possibly. I mean, but that's what he did. He's an extortionist, or was an extortionist. If in fact the paper trail on the SS agent comes to light, what would happen to the SS organization? That's a good question. I don't think you can condemn the Secret Service over one instance. I mean, there's been a lot of instances of problems with the Secret Service, right? I mean, the members that were partying, with hookers, and it was the Dominican Republic, and doing drugs and stuff like that. So, like anything else, right? That you can't condemn a whole organization because one person or a couple of people, are bad. And in this case, the Secret Service agent, when he got to the island, saw what was going on and he quit. So he wasn't bad. He was good. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Has there been a huge cover up? Because, a sitting president. And Barack Obama was part of this. And Barack Obama also was part of the Diddy stuff. Now, do I believe that Obama was screwing around with young kids or punching women with P. Diddy? No, I don't. Presidents and important people take pictures with them. They pay money, they go to fundraisers, they take pictures, they hang out, they're cool. I don't think that Obama was doing anything wrong. Do I think Clinton was? I do, because Clinton is a whole nother animal. Clinton has a problem, and we know he has a problem. But that's the whole thing is that they're willing to jump to conclusions about Trump, but not about Barack, not about Bill. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. Okay, we read that already. Condoning Clinton's behavior. Who is me? I'm not condoning Clinton's behavior. I don't think that the Secret Service is condoning it either. Their job is to protect the president, not judge him. The people of the United States elected him. Their job is to keep him safe. That's the way it is. Their job is not to help victims of sexual molestation. Their job is to, keep the president safe. That might sound harsh, but that's what their job is as Secret Service agents. I'm sure. Do you think that Clinton is the only one that had weird proclivities? I mean, the Secret Service must have a lot of secrets on a lot of presidents, including that Eleanor Roosevelt was running the country. I mean, we really did have a female president, and Nancy Reagan at some point was doing it too when Ronald was starting to slip. This is what the Democrats do: lie, steal, and cheat. That's right. The Republicans do it too, but right now I don't recognize the Democrat Party. Somebody was condemning Curtis Lee, with the other a former elected official on Facebook, was saying that he should be kicked in the ass, and I took offense to it because we didn't get Mamdani in. Curtis didn't get Mamdani in. I mean, even if he did make the difference, and it turned out that Mamdani got elected because of the what Curtis got in votes, it still wouldn't be Curtis's fault. You know whose fault it is? It's the Democrats, because they've got to figure out why the majority of their party voted for a socialist and not a governor who had proven himself to be good on a lot of things, bad on a few, but good on a lot. I mean, and to me, you could trace that back to these Democrats saying that, Republicans are fascist, that Trump is fascist, that, we're all bad, that MAGA is bad. So you say this for 10 years, and somebody who was 16 10 years ago is hearing it for 10 years, and now they're 26, and they go out and they vote for the socialists because they think that the only thing to stop fascism is socialism. And I said so on her page, and I don't think she appreciated it, but the new Democrats, I don't know who they are. Anyone will do what they need to do to protect themselves, guilty or not, especially if busted. Yeah, that's true. Can they legally look the other way as SOP? What is SOP? Standard operating procedure. Okay. I think they can. I mean, I don't know, but I think they can. I think that, look, there was cocaine in the White House under the Biden administration. There was a man sitting at a desk, but did not have his faculties to run the country. You didn't hear any Secret Service agents arresting Joe Biden or the person who was using the auto pen, right? So I think they can look the other way. I believe Obama is a pedophile. Remember Puzzlegate? I don't remember it. I only know it came out of Q. I don't know if it's true. Obama wants little boys while Clinton liked girls. Again, don't know that that's true. The Democrats do it out in the open. Yeah, they do. They do. And, the problem is that, I'm not going to say the Democrats as much as Hollywood. Hollywood is so salacious, and it's so immoral. And I think that too many of the Democrats hang out with the Hollywood types, is is my belief. As a Marine, I had general orders, which I knew by heart. Yeah, but what are the Secret Service orders? I'm not arguing with you, Professor. I just, I think that, I had a job to do in government and I did my job. I didn't go outside my job. You can't go outside your job. You shouldn't. You have to stay in your realm. I think they have to look the other way for national security. I think it's not their place. I mean, that's why, now we have all these whistleblowers out there, and thank God that we do, because we've learned a lot and we'll learn a lot more. All right. I'm 45 minutes. I'm over. Did we give you the perspective? Did I give you the other perspective? Did we do okay tonight? Do you have any other questions that I could answer or things that I could look up for you? Obviously, with AI, you can look this all up yourself. It's the discussion that I enjoy, and I hope you do too, because I've been yelling at the television all day long. Thank you, Susan. Have a good night. It's shut down over. They're voting right now, Angela. I don't know. They say that there might be 2 no votes, and if there are, that could stalemate it, and we could not open the government. Who knows? But if all the Democrats vote against it, here we go again, All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully it